She didn't see me at first. I had to tilt the hotel mirror to even get a glimpse of her reflection across the ballroom. She was at the far end of the crowd, standing under a glowing chandelier with a flute of champagne and a man I'd never seen before. Tall, clean-shaven, with the kind of smile you train in front of a mirror. She laughed at something he whispered. Not just any laugh. The one she used to save for private jokes in bed. Her fingers brushed the collar of his suit like it was second nature. No one else noticed. Not really, but I did. It wasn't what she did that destroyed me. It was what she didn't do. No searching for me in the crowd. No glance to see if I was watching. No guilt. Just airbrushed confidence and glossy flirtation, as if I didn't exist. I stayed back near the mirrored pillar beside the dessert cart, pretending to examine an eclair while watching my wife flirt with someone who wasn't me at her boss's party, on a night she said was strictly professional. The night before, she'd practiced her smile in our bathroom mirror. She thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. I heard her muttering, "No, not that smile. That one." Then she'd taken a photo of herself in that new satin dress, the one I didn't even know she'd bought, and sent it to someone. I only caught a glimpse of the name, the same D who was now brushing a piece of lint from her shoulder. I watched her hand rest on his forearm just a moment too long. Then I walked out. No confrontation. No scene. The ballroom doors didn't slam. They sighed. I made it 2 blocks before my phone buzzed in my pocket. One message. "Please come back." That was it. No, where are you? No, I'm sorry. No name. Just 3 words. Like a hook in the chest, pulling. I stood on the sidewalk under a flickering streetlight, rereading that text while trying to remember the last time she told me she loved me without it feeling scheduled. And then I did something I never thought I would. I turned off my phone. I didn't go home. I didn't go far either. I just walked past empty storefronts with coming soon signs still hanging since before the pandemic. Past that old florist on Elm that always closes too early. My footsteps echoed in that quiet, clean way city nights have when the weather's warm but the air still feels thin. I didn't check my phone again. I didn't need to. I could already hear what she'd say if I went back. "Oh, come on. I didn't mean to ignore you. You always take things too personally. It was just work stuff." But it wasn't the words I was afraid of. It was the way she'd say them, with that tone like I was the child in the room. I ducked into a small diner, one of those 24/7 places where the fluorescent lights feel like an interrogation. I slid into a booth at the back, and the waitress, maybe 20, green hair, fake lashes too big for her face, brought me black coffee without asking. I must have looked like I needed it. I stared into the cup until the surface stopped shaking. I know this sounds dramatic, but when someone treats you like a background prop in your own marriage, something shifts. It's not rage. It's not heartbreak. It's like static in your brain, a soft, constant hiss where clarity used to be. And that's why I sat in that booth for 27 minutes and some change. Just a hiss. When I finally pulled my phone back out, there were 5 messages. "Tessa, where are you? Tessa, you just left. Tessa, lol. This is childish. Tessa, you're overreacting. Tessa, call me, please." Only the last one used "please." Only the last one felt like her voice, soft, lowercase, like she was finally unsure. I locked the screen without replying. That's when I noticed a shadow on the window beside me. Someone pacing on the sidewalk. At first, I thought it was just some guy on the phone, until he passed under the neon and I recognized the gray suit. Langmore. Darian Langmore, her boss. The man she'd been practically melting into all night. What the hell was he doing outside my diner? I shrank back against the vinyl booth, my heart crawling up into my throat. He wasn't looking for me, was he? He turned, walked halfway back toward the hotel, paused, then pulled out his phone. His face lit up faintly from the screen. And then, as if guided by instinct, I glanced at my phone again. One new message, but not from Tessa. Unknown number. "You left just in time. I thought you should know." That wasn't the first time she's done it. I stared at it, completely still. My coffee had gone cold. The shadow on the window was gone, and I was no longer alone in my own confusion, because now someone else knew, and they were watching too. I didn't move for a solid minute. The diner around me buzzed with life in a strange, detached way. A couple was arguing over pancakes at the counter. The cook called out an order for chili fries. Someone was humming, low and off-key, near the restrooms. But none of it touched me. I was staring at that message, rereading the words as if they'd shift meaning if I blinked long enough. You left just in time. I thought you should know that wasn't the first time she's done it. No name, no context, no punctuation beyond that one period, like a deliberate warning. I checked the number. Unknown. Unregistered. Nothing familiar. I scanned the street again, but Darian was gone. Vanished like a character exiting stage left. A smudge in a suit. For a second, I almost convinced myself it was a prank. Some twisted joke from someone who saw me leave. But then the weight in my chest returned. That slow-burning suspicion that had been crawling around my ribs for months. Not just tonight, way before this. Little things like how Tessa used to leave her phone on the nightstand, and now it followed her like a second spine. Or how she started working late 3 nights a week but never came home with stories anymore. Or how her perfume changed suddenly. Not the scent she used for me, but something sharper, bolder, like she was wearing armor. I replied to the message. Just 2 words. Who are you? No response. I locked the phone and slid it back into my jacket, my brain a tangle of half-formed possibilities. I paid the check, thanked the waitress like nothing was wrong, and stepped out into the night again. I didn't want to go home, but I also didn't know where else to go. It's a weird thing not trusting the space you're supposed to feel safest in. Our house, our living room, even the spot on the couch where I always curled up with Tessa for movie nights, suddenly felt foreign. It wasn't just about the affair or whatever this was. It was the feeling that someone had been erasing me in slow motion, and I hadn't noticed until now. I took a long way back. 3 buses, 2 transfers. I walked the last half-mile through our neighborhood under dim porch lights and empty driveways. Our porch light was on, like always. Her SUV was parked in the driveway. Normal. Too normal. I hesitated before going in. My hand actually shook on the doorknob. I wasn't ready for the lies. Not yet. But I was curious about one thing, her face. I wanted to see if she looked worried or if she was just rehearsing her next performance. She was on the couch, still in her gala dress, legs curled under her phone glowing in her hand. She looked up like I'd just returned from picking up milk, not from vanishing for 2 hours without a word. "Lel," she said with forced relief, like it had been practiced in a mirror. "Where did you go?" I said nothing. I just stared at her. She stood slowly, setting her phone on the cushion beside her. "Look, I know I ignored you tonight. That wasn't fair. I got caught up with work people." "And was that Darian?" I interrupted. "The guy with the slate suit and the perfect jawline?" Her mouth twitched, just barely. "He's my boss," she said. "You know that, right?" I said quietly, "And did he send me the message? Or was it someone else watching?" That was the first time I saw her eyes flicker. Real panic, not manufactured. For 1 second, I saw behind the curtain, but it vanished as fast as it appeared. "What message?" she asked, stepping forward. "Lel, you're not making sense." I held up the phone, screen still blank with no reply. "I got a text. Said this wasn't the first time." She crossed her arms. "So, someone sent you some anonymous nonsense and now you're what? Accusing me of what, exactly?" But I didn't answer. I didn't have to. I was watching the way her hand trembled slightly. Not in offense, but in calculation. She wasn't hurt. She wasn't even defensive. She was strategizing, and that scared me more than anything because it meant this went deeper than a single night, and someone else out there already knew it. She didn't speak for a while. She just stared at me, arms crossed, lips pressed tight, like she was holding something back. That was Tessa's thing. She never exploded, never lashed out. She weaponized silence. And right now, she stood in our living room like a defendant, waiting to hear if I had evidence or just suspicion. I finally sat down, not because I was tired, but because standing made me feel like I had more control than I actually did. "Why would someone send me that text?" I asked as casually as I could. She shifted. Because someone saw you leave and thought they could mess with you. It was a big event, probably a drunken turn. But they said it wasn't the first time. I met her eyes. Is it true? She exhaled, long and slow, like she was trying to let go of something heavy without admitting it was ever there. No, Lel, it's not true. But there it was again. The flicker, a microscopic delay between my question and her answer, as if she had to choose between two versions of reality. That flicker was always where the truth lived. Not in the words, but in the delay. I stood up again. Then tell me why you didn't look for me after I left. Why your boss or someone else was near the diner 5 minutes later. Why you're more angry that I got a text than worried about what it said. She blinked. What do you mean he was at the diner? You didn't know? That cracked the surface. Tessa looked away, jaw clenched. Darian didn't follow you. He left the party early. He said he had to take a call. I waited. He told you that? Her pause answered everything. Tessa? I said. What's going on? She finally looked at me then, but something in her had already started backing away. Not physically, but emotionally, like a part of her had retreated into a locked room where I didn't have a key. I think you're tired, she said, walking toward the hallway. Let's talk about this in the morning. You're making assumptions based on, who's Daria? The question froze her mid-step. I hadn't planned to say it. It just came out. Slipped from the back of my mind where I'd buried that name since seeing it in a text preview months ago. She had been asleep next to me, her phone screen lighting up at 2:13 a.m. with a message that said, Daria, tomorrow can't come soon enough. She'd said it was a client. She even showed me a fake itinerary the next day. But in this moment, her entire body reacted before she said a word. She turned around slowly. Why are you bringing up Daria? Because you lied about her. And I think you've been lying for a long time. Tessa didn't deny it. She didn't confirm it either. She simply stared at me like I'd taken something she was saving for a better time. A more convenient moment to unravel. Her face was unreadable, but her silence spoke everything she wouldn't say. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. Still think she came alone? I looked at Tessa. Did Darian drive you to the party? She blinked once, then again. No, she said too quickly. Another buzz. This time an image. I tapped it open and my chest went cold. It was a photo of the hotel's underground valet entrance. Tessa, stepping out of a silver Mercedes. Darian right behind her, fixing his cufflink. Her hand was still on his arm. I turned the phone toward her without saying anything. She didn't flinch. She didn't gasp. She just looked at the photo like it was something inconvenient, like she'd seen worse. Then calmly, she said something I wasn't ready for. That picture doesn't prove anything, Lel. It was the way she said it, flat, technical, and trained, that terrified me more than any confession would have. It wasn't a denial. It was a strategy. My wife wasn't defending herself anymore. She was preparing for war. She didn't say another word after that. She just turned around and walked toward the hallway, her heels softly tapping against the hardwood. She didn't slam the door. She didn't cry. She simply disappeared behind our bedroom wall like she had nothing to explain, and I had nothing left to hear. I stood there for what felt like an hour, phone still glowing in my palm, the photo still open. I stared at it so long the screen dimmed and then blacked out. But the image stayed, burned in my mind. Tessa, stepping out of that Mercedes like it was normal, like being escorted by her boss to a hotel ballroom wasn't suspicious in the least. I opened my messages again. The anonymous number was still there. No name, no profile picture, just gray text bubbles and perfect timing. I hesitated before typing. Me, who are you? Me, why are you sending this? Me, how do you know her? No response. Not for 20 minutes. I sat on the edge of the couch with the TV on mute, the local news flickering in silence while I watched the reflection of myself in the black glass and wondered how long I'd been sleeping next to someone who had already moved on emotionally, maybe physically, long before tonight. Then, finally, a reply. Unknown number. It started in Austin, 2 trips ago. Darian wasn't alone. Neither was she. Austin. that hit like a brick. 2 months ago, Tessa had flown out for a strategic planning summit, a last-minute trip with no time for discussion, just a note on the fridge and a list of dinners I was supposed to handle for myself. She said she'd be too busy for calls. She came back with a tan and a bracelet she claimed was a gift from the hotel spa. Said she got it as part of a stress recovery package. I remember asking her if she got to enjoy the city. She told me she barely left the conference room. But now I pulled up her Instagram, scrolled back. There it was. A post I hadn't paid much attention to before. A close-up of a cocktail glass, a skyline in the background, a blurred hand barely visible on the edge of the frame. Not her hand. I stared at that detail like I was solving a crime scene. The watch. It was a man's. Not expensive, but distinctive. A square-faced, black leather band. It matched the one Darian had on in the photo I just received. I zoomed in and felt the floor shift beneath me. That wasn't a business trip. That was a cover story. I went back to the anonymous text and typed again. Me. How do you know all this? Me. Are you one of her coworkers? This time, the reply came faster. Unknown number. I was involved. I'm not proud of it, but I thought you should know before it happens again. She's being groomed for something else. Groomed. That word chilled me. Not just for what it implied, not just that she might have been used, but for what it said about her loyalty to me. If she was being prepared for something, it meant she was letting it happen willingly, actively. I tried to imagine who this person could be. A woman, maybe? Another assistant? A former employee of Darian's? Or someone even closer? My brain wouldn't stop spiraling. What did "before it happens again" mean? Had Tessa done this before Austin? Was Austin just the first time they noticed? The next message came through while I was still trying to breathe. Unknown number. You should check the cloud backup on her laptop. Photos folder. But do it soon. That was the moment my heart finally started pounding. Tessa had 2 laptops. Her work one, which was locked behind a company VPN, and her personal one, which she kept in the office closet because it was old and slow. I'd offered to help her back it up months ago. She said she already had. Maybe she wasn't lying. Maybe she just never thought I'd look. I crept to the hallway, paused by the bedroom door. It was closed. I didn't hear movement, just silence, thick and unnatural, like she was holding her breath on the other side. I didn't knock. I turned quietly, walked to the home office, and opened the closet door. Her laptop was there, dusty, slightly warm. It had been used recently. I took it to the kitchen table and opened it. No password. That surprised me. The screen blinked to life. I navigated straight to the cloud backup icon and then paused. One last moment of hesitation. If I opened this folder, there was no going back. Not mentally, not emotionally. No unseeing, no undoing. But I clicked anyway, and what I found didn't just confirm what I feared. It pointed to something far worse. Because the first photo wasn't of Tessa. It was of Darian, taken in our house, in our living room while I was at work. There's a special kind of nausea that comes when your mind tries to outrun what your eyes are already seeing. It doesn't feel like sickness. It feels like vertigo, like your body can't decide if it should run, scream, or shut down completely. The photo was time-stamped from a Thursday afternoon, 2:15 p.m., the same day I'd been called into an emergency infrastructure meeting across town. The same day Tessa had told me she was working from home because she had a migraine. And there he was, Darian Langmore, sitting on my couch, legs spread casually, shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows, drinking from my world's okayest husband coffee mug. I stared at the screen in silence. Not because I didn't know what it meant, but because I absolutely did. She had brought him here to our house, into our space. There were more photos, small ones at first. Cropped selfies. Tessa smiling in different rooms of the house. Her body turned just slightly, always angled. At first glance, they looked innocent. But the context had shifted everything. Now I recognized the shadows, the placement. She wasn't taking pictures for memories. She was sending proof. A trophy case of secrets wrapped in pixels. Then the folder named Austin Trip caught my eye. It wasn't hidden, not even buried. Inside were videos. Not explicit, nothing that would break community rules, but the intimacy was there, and it was worse in its subtlety. A clip of Tessa laughing on a hotel balcony at night, her hair tossed by the wind. A man's voice off camera saying, "God, I could watch you forever." Another of her walking barefoot across the suite, Darian's hand clearly reaching for her waist just before the screen went black. Each video was short, precise, almost rehearsed, like someone wanted to document something for later. Like they were building evidence, not hiding it. That's when a pattern hit me. These weren't just random memories. They were receipts. I slammed the laptop closed so hard the screen flickered white for a second before going black. My hand was slick with sweat. I didn't know if I wanted to confront her or run. But something had shifted in my chest. Something irreversible. The pain wasn't numb anymore. It had begun to calcify into something colder, something that could move. I stood from the table, heart hammering in my ears, and turned toward the hallway. I wasn't even fully in control of my own steps when I reached the bedroom door and pushed it open. She was standing by the dresser, fully dressed. Not in pajamas, not winding down for sleep, but in jeans, a jacket, and boots. Her purse was zipped, keys in hand. She didn't look surprised to see me. She looked like she was expecting this moment. "You went through my stuff," she said quietly. "No," I said. "I went through my house. The one I thought we shared." Tessa didn't blink. "You weren't supposed to see those. And yet they're backed up in a cloud, labeled, categorized. You didn't even try to hide them." She exhaled sharply. "I was going to delete them tonight." I laughed. Not a joyful sound. Something sharp and exhausted. Right? Just in time. There was a long silence. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You weren't supposed to care this much, Lel. You haven't in years." That sentence hit like a wrecking ball. "I made your coffee every morning," I said. "I bought you groceries you never thanked me for. I fixed the heater last December with a YouTube tutorial because we couldn't afford a repairman. You think that means I didn't care?" She shook her head, eyes glinting. "You were comfortable. That's not the same as being present." "No," I said. "You wanted someone louder, someone flashier, someone with a jawline that looks good on magazine covers." She didn't deny it. Instead, she said, "Darian offered me a new position. New city, double the pay. I haven't accepted yet." "That's why you're packed," I said flatly. "I needed time to figure things out. Without me." Another long pause. And then, her voice trembling just slightly, she said, "Lel, he's not who you think he is." That stopped me cold. "What?" She looked around like someone might be listening and stepped closer. Her voice dropped to a near whisper. "Darian isn't just sleeping with women at the office. He's keeping records. Videos, messages. He keeps them all. He said it's for protection, but I think it's leverage." I didn't know how deep I was in until it was too late. Now I was the one blinking. "You're saying he's blackmailing people?" She nodded. "And if you got those photos, someone else did too." I stepped back. The room felt smaller now, claustrophobic, like all the oxygen had been quietly drained out. I opened my phone and scrolled to the unknown messages. I typed one more line. "Me. Are you trying to protect me or trap me, too?" The response came instantly. "Unknown number. Neither. I just need someone else to blow this wide open." And right then, I realized I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the witness, and someone was counting on me to act. Couldn't sleep that night. Not even close. I sat in the living room in the dark, the soft glow of the streetlight leaking in through the blinds, watching the shadow of our neighbor's wind chimes sway back and forth on the wall. Somewhere behind me, Tessa moved around the bedroom, opening drawers, pacing, checking her phone, but she never said another word. I think she knew the line had been crossed, and there was no dragging it back. I kept playing those texts over in my mind. Not just the words, but the timing, the precision. Whoever was behind them had access to more than just gossip. They knew Darian's movements. They knew where I'd gone, what I'd seen. They even knew about Austin before I did. But most importantly, they knew what was coming next. Around 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed again. No ringtone, just that quiet little tap-tap vibration that made my skin crawl. Unknown number. If you're ready to see how deep this goes, there's something in your mailbox. But don't wait too long. Tessa doesn't know it was copied. My mouth went dry. I threw on a hoodie and stepped outside. The air was heavier than it had been earlier, like the night itself was holding its breath. Our street was empty, just parked cars and porch lights and silence. When I opened the mailbox, I found a small, padded envelope. No return address. Inside, a USB drive and a folded note. The note simply read, "Before she deletes it all. Before he makes you disappear, too." I went back inside, locked the door behind me, and stared at the flash drive like it was a bomb. Maybe it was, because something told me once I opened it, I wasn't just uncovering what had been hidden. I was stepping into a world that was never meant for someone like me. I plugged it into my laptop. First, nothing. Just folders labeled with initials. Dozens of them, all time-stamped. Some had photos. Others had short video clips, voice memos, screenshots of texts. Darian wasn't just keeping files. He was building a library, and Tessa had her own folder. Inside, for voice recordings, all dated from the past year. One stood out. A file titled simply Resignation of Serial MP3. I clicked play. Tessa's voice came through, clipped, rehearsed. "Darian, I don't know if I can keep doing this. It's going too far." Then his voice cold, steady. "Tessa, let me remind you what you signed, what you allowed, what you recorded. I'm not your enemy, but I can be if you make this difficult." She went silent for several seconds, then quietly, "You said you'd protect me." "I am," he replied. "From yourself." The file ended. I sat there in the dark with the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. She had tried to stop. She had realized the trap, but she didn't leave. She stayed. She played along. And worse, she kept me in the dark. All while Darian made sure there was no escape for her, or for anyone else. And now I was holding the kind of evidence that people don't just walk away from. The kind that gets buried or bought or silenced. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Don't confront her. She'll deny everything. She's been coached. Unknown number. Instead, listen to the file called Langender's. I scrolled. There it was. One last file, buried deep under a false folder called Q1_report. I clicked it open. Darian's voice again. Smug. Recorded without his knowledge. 3 months from now. She moves. She takes the new role in Boston. Clean slate. She doesn't speak to anyone from here again. If she hesitates, we tighten the screws. Her husband's already emotionally detached. He'll fold like a tent. If not, we burn the backups. Easy. I hit pause. My hands were trembling. This wasn't just manipulation. This was orchestration. They'd planned to make her disappear. Not literally, but socially, emotionally, professionally. Relocate her, rebrand her, erase me. And somehow I was the last obstacle. Tessa didn't just cheat on me. She didn't just lie. She let herself be rewritten. And now I was holding a master key to a story no one was supposed to tell. I didn't go back to bed. I sat at the kitchen table until dawn, watching the sky turn gray, feeling my marriage rot in real time. And by the time the sun rose, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to destroy Tessa. I wasn't going to threaten Darian. I was going to do something worse. I was going to show everyone. I didn't rush. That's the part that surprises people when I tell them the story now. There was no revenge rampage. No yelling. No confrontation that ended in shattered glass or police reports. Just clarity. Slow, cold, and steady, like rain after a fire. I knew what I had to do, and more importantly, I knew how to do it. I took the USB drive and copied everything to 2 encrypted cloud backups. Then I created a burner email account and attached selected files. Not all, just enough. The recordings, the folders marked with initials, the photo of Darian in my house, the audio where he planned to relocate Tessa like a chess piece and erase me like a typo. And I sent them to every member of the Langmore Group's executive board. One email, one subject line. Before you promote him, You might want to hear what your founder says in private. No signature, no threats, just the facts. I didn't include Tessa's name in that first wave. She'd made mistakes, sure, terrible ones. But I could see now how she'd gotten entrapped slowly, subtly. I wasn't going to bury her for trusting the wrong man. She had to face the consequences of her silence, but she didn't deserve to be swallowed by it. The second email, one I wrestled with for hours, was sent to her, just her. I forwarded the files, the photos, the audio of her own voice from the resignation call, and a message. You let him convince you I wouldn't notice. You let him convince you I didn't matter. But I do. I always did. I'm not angry anymore. I just hope you remember who you were before all this. I hope someday you forgive yourself. I already have. I didn't wait for a reply. I packed 2 bags, left the house keys on the table, and drove north until I found a quiet motel outside Traverse City. It was snowing by the time I checked in. Peaceful, muffled. The kind of snow that makes the world feel clean again, even if just for a while. 2 days later, the headlines hit. Langmore scandal rocks marketing firm. Executive accused of coercion, blackmail. The board didn't hesitate. Darian was suspended immediately. Internal investigations launched. Former employees began to speak up, one by one. Quiet whispers became bold voices. Tessa's name was never publicized. She sent me a long email apologizing, explaining, telling me she was resigning, not taking the promotion, starting therapy. She said she didn't expect forgiveness, but I'd already given it. Not for her, for me, because holding on to the betrayal wasn't going to rebuild my life. Letting go was the only way forward. 3 weeks later, I signed a lease on a small cottage near a lake. I took a job as a systems consultant for the local county office. Not glamorous, but peaceful. On weekends, I take walks. I read more. I don't feel invisible anymore. Not to myself. And that mystery number? It never texted again. I think they got what they needed. I think I did too. Sometimes people ask me if I'd take her back, if she changed, if she truly healed, if she begged. But that's not the question I live with anymore. The question I ask myself now is simple. Do I feel peace when I wake up? And the answer is yes. Every single time.